it's a very vulnerable place to be when you have never been made to feel safe being you. When you don't even know who you is, right? And you've been living for other people, which has been one of my situations. And then you start to discover self, and then you're scared to be that person, to figure out who that person is. Oh, there's so many layers. Three, two, one. Welcome to the Daily Humans Podcast. This is your host, Ashley.
And I'm Nina. Hi.
Hi. You know that sounds like an American talk host show. You know when they all do the sound and the effects, and then their voice is so like, welcome to the Daily Humans Podcast. This is another Sunday. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I was thinking news reporter, but you were going YouTuber, so I love that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, and welcome back to the Daily Humans Podcast with your co-host, Ashley and Nina. And you were like, welcome back, you guys. Welcome back to the Daily Humans Podcast, the best podcast ever in the world. I just want to apologize to our viewers.
You're ready to be a YouTuber. You're ready to be a streamer. You're ready to just take on all the interviews, news anchor. I can see you. Weather woman.
I would be the most annoying YouTuber. No, I would. That would be my mission. I would want to be the most annoying YouTuber ever. That would be my like,
I don't think it's possible.
Online personality.
My friend, I'm normally in the state of nothing is impossible, but you know, that's just impossible. It's impossible for you to be annoying. Like you could try. What you think is annoying, you would do that, but it wouldn't be annoying. You'd just be so like, oh my gosh, Nina is so cool. She's so hip. She just knows. Oh my gosh, I love her show. I need to watch more, post more. You'd have the opposite effect of what you think is going to happen. It'd be the opposite.
Yeah.
I know. I'm your friend. True. I know. Your friend, no. When you don't know, I know. Mm-hmm. When I don't know, you know.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah.
We got each other like that. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm really, really excited for today. Ashley and I have had the giggles this morning. Well, my morning, her nighttime, and it's been a fun ride so far. But we have gathered ourselves, and we're here. Yeah, this is a retake.
We like to redo. Yeah.
Yes.
There's 30 minutes of footage of absolute unhingedness.
You can probably see it at a later point in time when we like release bloopers and stuff because it was funny. But definitely welcome back, you guys. Today, I really want there to be like funky music, Ashley. Like Jay, our editor Jay, if you could put in some funky music for the peoples, that would be great. But today we will be talking about the funk. And not the funk where you get down and you're like, you know, doing the Saturday Night Live Fever dance, but the funk that like gets you down, doesn't get you out.
That's funny. It's like make it look like we're talking about the funk that's so hip, hooray, and then we're talking about the funk that makes you go, oh, damn, the most depressing, sad, anguish situations. No, we're not going to go. We don't need to go fully there.
No, but it's been an interesting time. Ashley, how are you feeling today?
I like your words. Interesting time. I like it. I like the explanation of what this year has been so far. An interesting time. That would be my answer if I didn't really want to tell people how I truly felt about this year. And they're like, so have you been loving how this year's been unfolding? Yes, I have. Can't you tell? I'd be so unhinged trying to explain how much I love this year. We're in the middle. we're in the middle of 6 more
Yes.
months until the end, and honestly, I'm at the point where it's like, I'm not waiting till next year. I'm not doing that. I used to do that. I used to wait till the next year and think, next year will next year will be better. Next year
Mhm.
will be the year. I'm not saying that anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. I refuse. I said it to Nina before this episode, and I'm going to say it again. I am a seal lying on a surfboard, riding the waves because I no longer give a shit. I no longer care. We are 6 months in, and we'll be 6 months out, and then we'll be in 2025, and then I'll be 30 soon, and then 35, and I just don't care. That was the 30 minutes of unhingedness from the last recording that we did. That's what it feels
I don't
like.
know. I don't know if time goes like that, if it's like 28, 30, 35, but you got a little bit of time there in between us. But yeah, I resonate. I resonate.
Just disassociate between the time of between 30 and 35. Just go straight to 35
Yeah.
at this point. Don't worry about it. Just go to 35. I'm not afraid of aging. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's all good. I've already got some lines showing up on my forehead and they're just peeking through. And I'm like, you're cool. You go right ahead. Ride the wave. Ride the forehead. Ride the forehead because it's a wave. It's literally.
Oh, you're right. It is a wave. It's like the
It is a
coastline
literal
of a
wave.
beach.
It literally is the sides of my forehead. It's a wave. So I just imagine myself as a seal, just like boom, blowing through wave, another wave. Oh, jeez. I love being 28. I love
I
it.
can tell.
I feel like I have. Thank you. I feel like I just have a lot more consent for myself for being completely unhinged. And when they say why, all I have to say is I'm 28, and they get it.
Yeah.
That's what I feel
Yeah.
like it's like these days. Why are you so unhinged? I'm 28. Okay, you go right ahead, friend. You keep being
Yeah.
unhinged. Thank you.
Yeah.
Every right to be.
I mean, honestly, yeah, considering life right now in the world and everything, especially you're coming off of a sickness as well, or ascension sickness. I don't know like, how have you been feeling physically now, speaking with each other here present in this moment in time? Are you feeling good? How's your body doing? How have you been doing? How's the health?
I honestly think that I got sick because it gets tiring being such a sick. It gets exhausting. The ascension sickness came from the tired exhaustion of just being so cute all the time. Like I just have moments where I just have to put it down for a second. I get the cold and the flu because I'm so burnt out from just holding my head up over my shoulders all the time and just riding through the waves and riding through life the way that I do.
Yeah, you gotta
Just
take a
watching
break
Nina,
sometimes.
just watching Nina's face. I'm saying,
No, I'm just like, I don't know where you're taking this, but I'm just listening. I'm right there with you, riding the wave.
when I talk to her sometimes and I know that I'm kind of going off onto planet Zuza, I'll watch her face and she's just like, she's just listening. She's active listening, but I feel like I
Yeah,
want to know what she's thinking. I need to know what you're thinking.
I like metaphors. It's fine.
Oh, jeez. Ascension sickness, yeah. I messaged Nina when I first got sick and I told her I think this is more ascension sickness than an actual sickness, only because it resembles to what's happened in the past at a certain time. It always happens at a certain point. That's why I think it.
Mm,
It's always when massive transitions are happening and I'm kind of shifting from one side of the fence to the next. It always seems to happen. And it's,
mm,
you know how annoying it was, right? I got to tell you, you know how annoying it was though with the timing? I found out that my thoracic scoliosis had gotten worse, and I thought, okay, so daily walks were starting to come back in because my lung is healed and I'm able to do a lot more walking, thankfully. And I'm not going to go down that track. So don't make accusations because I'm not going to explain the full story. But my lung had healed. I started doing my daily walks, started doing yoga for scoliosis and Pilates. And then what happens? 4 days straight of doing that. What happens? I get sick. I get sick. So it starts to affect everything. There goes the daily walks. I try to do yoga, but I'm trying to breathe. So I'm like, great, I get started on this routine and I'm happy with it. And then something comes and just, ugh, more violent than what I just did. It just whams it. I literally, the first thought I had was, you just had to start now. You had to come now as I've just started a really good routine. Anyway, the symptoms represented something that I had last time, the same thing. It always starts off with the throat chakra, always. I start to lose my voice, and it's without a fault, the same things, voice, and then it goes up to the nose, and then it kind of just stays around the head area. And it's always been the same freaking symptoms. And then afterwards, I start to transition out of it. I feel different. I feel different today. I feel weird. And I can't begin to explain what I'm fully feeling or where I'm fully at, because I feel like I'm not even on this planet. I feel like I'm floating in space, clearly, because my mind feels ungrounded. I could go off even more right now and just start dancing on my bed for all of you. That's how unhinged
It's
I
content.
feel.
It's content. It's fine. Go ahead, Ash. Get your freak out. It's fine. We'll play some music.
I would, but it's absolutely freezing here too. So I'd be like freezing cold if I were to do it, but I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it. But anyway, yeah, no, I definitely feel a little like I don't even know what is what. I don't even know where is where, who is who, what is left and right. I've had to try to guess my left and rights these days because that's how unhinged it feels. Like left, and right. I've had to do that lately, and I thought I don't understand what's going on. I feel off the rocket completely. And if you know, you know. That's the thing. If you know, you know. If you understand, you understand. If you don't, well, there's research out there. You can understand that way or don't understand at all. Free will. Take that. But it was weird because I got to experience a part of it today, and I've told Nina this, and I did start to tell this story in the unhinged, the 30-minute of unhinged version of Ashley that we just had before. I started to explain this story. So Nina's going to hear it for the third time tonight.
That's okay. We're here all night, guys.
I went to Costco today with my family. It's so funny to say this again. I'm sorry. I just feel sorry for you.
No, I'm so okay hearing this. You could literally say this 10 times in a row. I'll be just as happy because this is amazing. Share with them.
Yeah. So I went into Costco today with my family, and it was packed. I've never seen it so packed before. It was packed. Sardine packed. Spam packed. I actually think that was a good one. Anyway, we went in and this is the thing, crowds like that were definitely something that I could not cope with once upon a time. And I'm not talking once upon a time as in faraway land. I'm talking like even just last month, I wouldn't be able to cope with something like that. I would have wanted to leave immediately. I would have been like, can I please have the keys to the car? I'm going to open that door and then bolt in. I'm just going to slam myself in, like fully just leap myself into the car because I'd rather be anywhere else but in this busy ass place. So I walked in, and for the first time in my entire existence, and I'm saying existence, okay, I don't care. From birth, I was shaking in my boots. When I came to this planet, when I zoomed out of my mother, I looked at this world and I thought, yep, that's it. I'm done. I'm shaking in my boots. I hate this place. Instantly, okay? So since birth, I have not liked this place. So the social anxiety just built up over the years. So walking into these spaces was just immediately just social anxiety galore. But I felt this dislike towards the busyness, which is no one's fault. Just want to clarify that. I just don't like the packed craziness of it all. Shopping
Yeah.
center in shopping centers in general, I'm not the biggest fan of. You know, it's so chaotic and it's just not so enjoyable for me anymore anyway. So I guess that's a part of the equation too. But for the first time, I just felt just that I didn't like it, but nothing more than that. And that for me is that's not a rare that's not a that no, that's a non-existent reality. That's non-existent. Never in my entire life have I ever walked into an overwhelming environment full of people and
Mm,
felt just that I didn't like it. Just
yeah.
that and nothing more than just that. I can't even believe that I'm saying this right now. Like I can't begin to express how big this is to actually walk into a space. I couldn't even explain it to Nina in that way when I was telling her because I don't even feel like I generally trust that just yet. I feel like it's just a whatever situation because I'm waiting for the moment for it to come again where I go into another environment that's like that and I feel completely
Hmm.
nervous over it or the anxiety of it, right? But
Yeah.
I didn't. I just didn't like it. So we're walking around and there's still a lot of people around, but my heart isn't racing, you know? I don't have difficulty breathing in my chest. My stomach isn't, going inwards to try to escape, even though it's in the inside of my body. Feels like my stomach's on the outside in these situations, and it's just kind of like, let me in, let me in. No, I didn't feel any of that at all. So I was just walking through. And I don't think I fully jerried to it until afterwards. I didn't fully understand that I just walked through the entire store of Costco and I was completely like, this is so busy. That's all I was saying. It's so busy, but I wasn't feeling overwhelmed by it.
You didn't
You know,
internalize that.
no, I didn't internalize it. I didn't absorb the energy of the environment. I didn't I didn't feel unsafe.
Hmm. That's
That's so
amazing.
weird. That is That's weird. That's fucking
Yeah.
weird. That is generally I that is in caps. It's so weird. I didn't feel unsafe. Um wow. I guess that is really just the art of healing,
Mm.
like the power of it to be in this position. Yeah. When we got out of Costco, I think I was sitting in the car. Yeah, I was sitting in the car and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. So this is kind of a transitional point right now that I'm realizing that I can exist a lot better in these spaces, even when people stare. Oh, geez. If there is one thing on my no list, and it doesn't matter even if I feel a lot more content with it,
Mhm.
I cannot stand when people stare. It's one of my biggest icks. It's one of my biggest intolerances. I cannot deal. I don't care if it's a cultural thing. I don't care about anything. It doesn't validate. Nothing validates that to me. Nothing validates it unless you have good intentions. But even so, it's oh. And there were moments in Costco, and I've had before, where people will just like they'll just stare. They'll just stare like this.
'Cause you're
And
beautiful, that's why.
Even if that's the case or if it's not, obviously
That's true.
I don't fully know. But if it's the
Mm.
case or not, when it happened when I went to an appointment and I came out of the appointment and I was getting stared at when I was walking through the waiting room and don't you all just hate that when you come out of an appointment, you got to walk
Yeah.
through the waiting room to leave and everyone's just like, I have
Yes.
never seen someone like you before, clearly, because I'm just gonna stare at you as you're leaving. I
Yeah.
honestly wanna ask people, have you never seen a woman before? Have you never seen a coat before? You're looking at my shoes. Have you never seen shoeless shoes before? No, shoeless. I wear these shoes that have no laces, so they're sock boots. Yeah, I've had people stare at
Ooh.
them before. It's like, have you never
Mhm.
seen them before? If you haven't, fair enough. But you're just looking me up and down.
Well,
I
fair
think I've
enough,
never.
Ash. Fair enough. You have amazing style. Okay, your style, and I've noticed this quite a few times as just maybe a possible explanation when people see somebody who has a different style than the usual norm, you know, or somebody who is more particular about what they wear, rather than just a t-shirt and jeans, you know, kind of the casual wear that most people wear day in, day out, they tend to stare a lot more because it's like, oh, okay. I've never seen this before. This is looking great, or this is looking different, or look at them shoes. I've definitely been approached a couple times when I lived in the States. I think they're called John Campbell boots. They had like really chunky heels, and they were amazing, and had like spikes on them. And everybody constantly stared
Oh
at
my
me. It's like,
god!
what are
I
those
had a
shoes?
pair of
Especially,
them.
oh, you did?
I did.
Look at us, twinsies. Especially when I came to Germany, I got stared at hard just for those shoes, and it's just like it's I feel like it's because you have your own unique style that is complementary to you. And people just want to peep it. They admire it. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like those people, I don't know if you've seen the videos before about people getting stopped in New York and like, what are you wearing? I wouldn't be
Oh yeah,
surprised if
yeah.
that happened one day to you.
I would completely forget what I'm wearing, and I go brandless. That's something to know. I do not need high-end brand. I don't need
Mhm.
it at all. I don't
Yeah.
see the personally to me, I don't see the necessity of it. As long as it's good quality and it lasts me, but even so, that doesn't happen fully. In
Yeah.
reality speaking, if something is on sale, and it's cheap, I'm gonna get it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, some of my clothes are brandless.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. Some of them are from Kmart. I have warped it into something.
Mhm.
I've created it into something. I've created an outfit out of it. That's really what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say. But I've never really been someone that's attracted to brands, and I never will be. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
attracted to designer bags. Even I'm a shoe person and I'm a coat person. I love my blazers. No, a better way of saying it, I'm an outwear kind of person. So
Mm.
yeah, the blazers, the jackets, the coats, love my long coats. Ooh, hoo, hoo. You give me a different I have a coat in there that's like literally one pattern on one side and one on the other. I love different coats. Love it,
Yeah.
live for it, yes. But I don't need to have a branded coat to feel
Mhm.
good. That's personally me. I'll never
Yeah.
need it. Even if I could afford it, I still wouldn't choose it. Unless I know I would spend a bit more on it if I knew it was gonna last me a long time.
Right. Yeah.
Because things these days, even if I do spend a little bit on it, if I'm able to, doesn't last me as long as what they used to. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely frustrating. Like, you really don't know. But anyway, I hear what you're saying though. And I do keep it in mind of the reality of the expansion of why people
Mhm.
do stare. But it's still just such a pet peeve of mine. It
Yeah.
still is.
Yeah.
Because even when I acknowledge that someone is absolutely stunning, which is a lot of people, I've seen so many people out on the street and I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just so beautiful. I'm not going to just,
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't just stare
Yeah.
into their soul, into their space. I cannot do it.
Yeah.
There's only been one experience where I've locked eyes with someone, right? But their eyes have been locked with mine. That situation, I think, is completely different to just staring at someone. Like,
Mhm.
I just, I can't validate that. I will never do it. Never will I do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, beforehand, it would really affect me, even if it was um, a positive reflection, right? Even if it was positive, to me, it never looked like it. It never seemed positive. It was a negative thing to me, so it used to affect me. So when I used to catch people, I used to instantly like shrink deeper within myself. Do you know what
Mm.
I mean? You would
Mhm.
go more inwards and you try to hide. Oh,
Yeah.
all I wanted to do was hide. And that's another thing too from today, right? I felt it a little bit. But when I would go out in public, I had moments where I'd want to hide because people were looking at me. I instantly just wanted
Mhm.
to cover myself and not be seen because
Yeah.
seen can be unsafe. It feels unsafe,
Mhm.
right? So I think the transitions from what I'm saying is one of them is when people stare, I remain in my space. I said this in one of the episodes, if you guys remember. I said that I want to remain secure in my space. So my
Mm.
space is mine and it's confident and it flows how I want it to flow. And I am in my bubble, my space, right? That's the thing that I noticed today. And that's what I noticed when I had that incident when people were staring. I was just kind of in my space. They do what they're going to do, even though I'm entirely uncomfortable with it. And I just kept walking. I didn't let
Mm.
it affect my energy or my flow or my confidence. I didn't want to shrivel and hide. I just kept going. And
Yeah.
today as well, I just kept going. And that for me is the thing when you can keep going when you feel like you want to shrink, when you feel like you want to run, when you feel like you want to hide, when you feel unsafe, you know you've reached a certain point in healing when you can actually step past
Yeah.
that reality. I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate when you get to a certain point in your life where you're not doing things the way that you were doing it before, but you knew that the way you were doing it was very suppressive to your movement. Or you never thought you would actually get out of that space. Like there was just no probability of
Yeah.
ever moving from a place of, oh, I can totally go to these busy spots and just be able to breathe and not shake or not be so hyper vigilant. I said this to Nina as well. I used to move my head in every direction. I would be like a one of those toys that you wind up behind and they would
Mm.
just like I would be like that in certain spaces. I'd be constantly looking around, acknowledging every angle that I can, every space, making sure don't hit anyone, don't do this, don't fall over, don't trip on
Mm.
yourself, don't hit anyone, don't say this wrong, don't do I'd be hyper vigilant of everything I'm doing, saying, being, how do I look, being so consciously aware of everything. The
Yeah.
noise, oh my gosh, the weather, is it gonna rain? Is my hair gonna get wet? Just everything engulfed
Yeah.
into one. It's a lot more quiet. It was a lot more quiet. So that was definitely something in the shortest version of explaining the transitional moment from going from where I was before to now. That's definitely one thing that I've noticed from, I guess, the ascension. The ascension, I guess that's what it is.
That's beautiful. I love that. And I feel like it gives not only me, but other people listening and watching the reassurance that if you're going through it, because I still am, I have those moments as well. Or as soon as there's too many people around, I start getting really irritated and irritable, and I need to get out. And, that it is possible to remain within you without taking on somebody else's energy or the energy of whatever place you're surrounded by. I think that's amazing. And from what
Mm.
it sounds like, it's like the sickness helped clear out the rest that was no longer serving you. And now you're stepping into this new space. And I hope you get to experience more of that because I want you to be in peace and feel peaceful.
Yeah, I'm certain that we all do when we leave the house.
Yeah.
We want to be assertive, but also peacefully existing in
Yeah.
whatever space that we step into, you know? And it's just, I feel like a lot of people will say, and you maybe even you can relate to it, that it just doesn't feel like a plausibility. It just doesn't feel like
Mm.
it will ever be a reality where you can
Yeah.
exist safely and you can be aware, but you're aware so like you're so grounded in it, you know?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It feels like if we feel like this can happen, then it must be a possibility. It must be a possibility to be
Yeah.
aware. Must be a possibility to be aware, but to be grounded at the same time. So you're not so hyper vigilant, right?
Yes.
And I'm generally saying this for any of you because I know a lot of people say this, and so did I. You think it can never happen for me. It's not a possibility. There's no other way but this. And I want to preference that just because I've had a transitional moment of it, that doesn't mean that it's that I'm saying that it's so easy and it's like it takes like that. It's just like this, everyone. Like you can totally do it. Just put your mind to it and get on it.
The
I'm
guru.
not saying that. I'm not saying that. It's just the example. I guess I'm the example, or one of the examples at least, that in the guidance of all of this, that it exists as a possibility.
Yeah.
It exists as a possibility. However, that is for you, I really do hope that a lot of you find that. It's taken me years to get to this point. And I've been healing, I've been on the journey of healing for 9 years now. 9 years. And a lot of people have been on it for longer. I know that. But for me, it's been a consistent, like no stop. I did not
Yeah.
stop for 9 years straight. So it's been a consistent healing, 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 healing. And now at least many things have come out from it. But right now, that's the one thing I'll say is,
Yeah.
I guess, finally feeling what it's like for the first time ever to just to be present and not disassociate.
That's
Present.
amazing. That's
That is
amazing.
a fucking achievement.
It
That is the
is.
achievement that we're talking about. Yes.
Round of applause.
Yeah. There
You're
will be
awesome.
no medal of honor for that, but there'll be a medal of honor for self to give to self.
Yes, absolutely. It's really reassuring because for me personally, I think Ashley mentioned this a little while ago, but it was something that completely I forgot about. Genuinely, I did not even remember this was a thing. But Dark Night of the Soul. Hey, you
No,
can have many of those. And for those who don't know what that is, who are like, what's that? Is that a movie? Is that a book? It is actually a book, but it essentially talks about the phenomena of going through cycles of spiritual healing, spiritual deaths to self, rebirths, kind of that whole cycle of the hero's journey, so to say. And it's a really, really interesting thing that I think everybody should read up on. If you're listening or hearing this for the first time, definitely check up on it. I'm not a know-it-all, so I can't convey everything that I've learned from it because I'm very bad at relaying information, but please go ahead and research it. It's great. No, but definitely it's been coming up for me, and I didn't realize that it was going on until Ashley had mentioned it. I think it was last week. She's like, I just, maybe this is like a dark night of the soul. She was more so speaking of herself, I think, but it like really stayed with me. And this is something that has happened quite a few times recently where Ashley has said something and it like lodges itself, and I'm like, nah. And then a week later, it's like, yeah, that's what it is. And she knew. It's really amazing. But when I hear your story about your growth, and you haven't been the only friend of mine recently that has made massive transformations in her life. But when I hear it, it is really reassuring for me, who's kind of feeling like I'm in the thick of it right now. And that's been kind of my quote unquote funk. So to say, it sounds so weird. But yeah, I've been dealing, I think I've mentioned in previous podcasts that there is a lot of control issues that I have that I've uncovered over the years of me healing myself and becoming more aware and growing as a person in general that I've tried to let go. And it's interesting because the more layers unpeel within the healing, the more I've realized that this has been a lot deeper than I thought it was. And recently, I feel like, at least for me in this current moment in time, it's really hit a peak of just like fear. It's all fear. And that's why you control things, and that's why this happens, and that's why you hold on, and that's why you micromanage, and that's why things fall apart because the universe is trying to get you to a point again where you're like, okay, I'm just vibing, bro. I'm just vibing, man. Just like, yeah, just like holding out my hand, and there's like a butterfly, but I'm not grabbing the butterfly. I'm just letting it be and letting it fly and letting it come back, bro. Like, that's the vibe the universe wants you to be on, I feel.
Yeah, bro.
um, and I'm like butterfly, and and then sad when it crushes, when it's dead, you know. So I'm learning.
Butterfly.
Yeah, just like clutching it and not letting it go. And in the meantime, it's dead now. Thank you for ruining it.
There
Um,
was that child movie that just reminded me of. Sorry, that was funny.
yeah.
There was like there's a child movie that it reminded me of. We like butterfly. Sorry, it was so funny.
No need to apologize.
You're hilarious.
Thank you. You're the first person who has ever said that. I'm proud. Thank you. Why are you still laughing?
This person that's ever said that, you are
You
funny.
are.
Am I really?
Yeah, you are. I constantly hear how I'm not funny. So it's fun. It's fun and great to hear that I
From
am. So thank
who?
you.
Who said that?
People no longer in my life, but I've heard it a lot. Where it's like, oh,
You
you're
had
just
no
you're just
idea what
laughing.
you were talking about. You have no idea what you were talking about when you said that. It is not true, my friend. They are lying. You liars. You know you lying. Pinocchio, I can see the nose starting to appear from how much you lied.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
my
you.
friend. I didn't mean to
No, no
interrupt.
need to. No, it's all fine. No, but definitely I've kind of just am now I've made very, very deep um not made, I will rephrase. I've had very, very deep awakenings. I will say, I will put it as that. And I know people
Mhm.
could listen and like, oh my God, it's awakening, it's spiritual stuff, blah. But no, really, when you are working on yourself and you are uncovering very deep rooted, possibly generational traumas, that can be when you go into it, it seems like butterflies and rainbows. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna heal myself, I'm gonna thrive, I'm gonna be free, I'm gonna be amazing. And then the longer you do it, and I know Ashley, you and I have talked about this before, but sometimes you get into this like funk where it's like, oh my gosh, this is never going to end. And yes, healing is for a lifetime, but it shouldn't be to the point where it's like, I need to fix this, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, because then again, it is a form of control where where it is fear based. And to go back to what I was trying to say, I've definitely uncovered very deep rooted fear mindset, scarcity mindset things, and trying to heal that while letting go and just surrendering, having faith, and just knowing that everything's going to be okay. But when your insides are kind of just like irate, it's very hard to handle those things, to handle the there's a word. There's a word that's really funny, and I can't remember it, but just the duality of it all, where you feel
Mm.
like your insides are screaming, it's like, I need to break out of this skin, almost like a butterfly, which is actually a massive, um, I think people say my spirit animal. That's kind of what it is for me in 2024. It's butterfly. And I've been feeling that. I've been feeling like I want to tear my skin apart, which is very gruesome and not where I'm trying to go. But that's what it feels like. I feel like I'm like the unhinged one now. It's like I just want to tear my skin apart. No, truly. The unfolding and growing of yourself feels incredibly uncomfortable. And I forgot about it during my healing journey because I
Mhm.
feel like I've gotten into a point where it's like, oh, yeah, this is coming up and this is what I'm supposed to learn from it. It went all mental. And now that I'm
Yeah.
really at a very deep rooted core issue, core thing that has been there probably probably generational, if I'm going to be completely honest. It is something that feels like you're breaking out of yourself. You're breaking out of your skin and out of your past self, shell or whatever symbolism you want to attach to it. And it's so uncomfortable and so scary because it's like, I'm not supposed to be afraid, and yet I am. And how am I supposed to manage? Because I don't know, because the world's going crazy and I can't look at anybody because they're all on their own journey and it's not a reflection of me, but I gotta have something to lean on. And luckily I do. I'm reading currently a lot of great books that are helping me find kind of a solace within this time, but it is just sometimes I get into this groove of like, this is never going to get better. This is never going to,
Mm.
like, I'm never going to be able to go outside and not care about what somebody else thinks. And it's funny because I've learned in my recent journey of things while I'm still in the thick of it and experiencing your breakthrough with it, Ashley, and a couple other friends of mine, where it's like, it's not actually me, it's the environment. Sometimes the thing that gets you thinking this way is the environment, and your transformation comes in making that realization, in that separation of, it's not me, I'm not internalizing this, it's the location or the people or these past experiences, and that awakening has happened. And so right now I'm in a transformational moment of like packing my things and figuring out where to go from here, because not just in a spiritual or mental or physiological way, but in a very physical way where it's like, okay, I gotta leave because I am from Germany. I was born in Germany. If you guys didn't know, if you're watching this for the first time, listening in for the first time, I was born here, lived in the States 9 years, came back, went to school, went back to school. And now I'm just, and then COVID happened and life and illnesses. And it got to the point where I started throughout my whole entire experience, the last few years of my life, really internalizing all the no's that I've been getting. And now I'm realizing after a lot of time and a lot of tears, the no's are a form of protection too. And I know people say that a lot. It's like sometimes doors close because it's better for you. You don't want to see what's behind it. But no, when you're a control freak, you're like, no, I need this door to be open. I'm gonna break it open, and you're gonna explain to me why it closed. And it's not healthy. It's not healthy because you are, as I sometimes hate to admit, in this moment, I just feel like, ugh, but you are protected by the things sometimes that don't work out. And even though
Mm.
it may be uncomfortable, it's okay. There is going to be something better, but it's hard to have that mindset when you come from a place where you don't know better. Does that make sense? Because how
Mhm.
can you know, how can you trust in something you've never been a witness to before, whether it is to yourself or with people surrounding you, you know? And so this is my evidence. Your experience of it is like things do get better. You can get to that point where it's like, I'm at peace. I'm like surrounded by a billion people, but I still have me. I still feel like I'm in my body. And it may, there might be fluctuations with it, but I think for me experiencing you being on the outside of things, Ash, it is a beautiful thing to witness because it's reconfirming to me like, okay, there are things working out that I may not conceive of mentally, but because my body is getting rid of this energy, it's going to feel uncomfortable. But eventually, on the other side of things, I'm going to feel better in the aftermath of it. Does that make sense?
Mm.
I feel like I'm rambling and I'm talking a lot and I am not coming to a conclusion, but here we are. Hi, the unhinged episode. Um, yeah, it's really, life has not been easy. And I spoke to Ashley yesterday and I said this, that when I'm in such a deep state of feeling everything within my body, it gets hard to communicate, because it's like, where do I start? There's so much to talk about, and then at the same time, nothing can really come out because it's a feeling rather than an explanation rather than communication. And so I was a little bit nervous, to be completely honest with all of you, coming on this episode today, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. And I love that the number one thing, because yesterday I was like, Ash, I feel so low in energy. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like, and then we come on and we laugh. And I feel more rejuvenated than I have been over the past 3 weeks. And it's been amazing, because this is yet again for me in real time a point of, even if you can't think of it, it can still happen because you are not in control. As much as my brain hates that, you are not in control. The universe is, or the powers that may be, whatever you believe in, and things will be okay. But when you come from it's really weird. I've said this before, that this podcast is my place where I can explore and be free and free flow, because Ashley's energy is very much that. It inspires me to be that way, because she's like, I will not be controlled. I will not. I am me and I decide. And I think that's amazing. And it's been inspiring me
Mm.
so much and enabling me to open. I'm like, okay, maybe there is a different perspective that I can take from this, or something that I'm learning from. There's always something. And to be in this moment right now, I feel like I've just lost my train of thought. But be in this moment right now where I'm experiencing yet again, you can think a certain way, but things work out differently, is also in and of itself a gift. So to all of those people out there who are like, what you think about, you manifest. So think only good thoughts. You're gonna be okay. Trust me, I've thought a lot about all the things that can go wrong. Luckily, they have not happened. So I'm gonna remember this moment in this episode later on tonight when I'm like, I can't do this anymore. No, it's gonna be okay. Future, or like past me to future me, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. I have recently, or very recently today, in fact, booked my first somatic healing session. So I'm very excited. And gearing up for my 28th year of life, I want to enter it with as much care to self as I possibly can, and making these realizations, even though they're hard. I'm sharing this to encourage possibly anybody else out there who's listening or watching this who is like, I feel the same way. I feel like I'm not in the right location. I'm not around the right people, and I want to break free of that. Just know you're not alone, first of all. We never are. But also, the chaos that you're feeling inside of yourself is not going to suppress you. And this has been personally my experience of that, because there are days where I feel like I'm peanut butter spread thin on the pavement and every car is driving over me, just disintegrating me further into the ground. I'm like, how am I still in existence right now? Because I feel so just like nothing. Not numbness, but just like depleted. And I'm still here. I'm still outside of that. So what the mind can conceive does not have to be your reality. You are more than that. And yes, somatic healing, fantastic. Looking forward to it. 5 out of 5 stars. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
10 out of 10. 10s across the board.
Oh,
Yeah,
healing
my
is
friends, I
crazy.
feel like healing is crazy, and it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's completely unpredictable. And Nina's story and her experiences within her life is just a showcasing of why I personally validate every single aspect to this journey, because at some points you can feel like it's a possibility to see yourself further than where you are. And then the next day, it's like you're all the way back,
Yeah.
And then we punish ourselves for being all the way back. And then we head into an even further space because we think, okay, I've just failed. It reminds me of sobriety, where people go through the stage of stopping, or actually, in better words, in sobriety, it's meant to be like a slow process of stopping, right? But then they have moments where they might retract.
Yeah.
Sobriety is in conjunction in a lot of ways to the healing journey, even though
Yeah.
people stigmatize it the way that they do. The healing journey is very similar. You retract, and you can
Yeah.
retract as many times as it's limitless, the
Yeah.
amount of times that you're going to fall back. And you might not even, this is the thing too, you might not. You could be someone that keeps moving and you're able to keep moving forward. You just don't know. It's very unpredictable. I can't sit here and say that I know everyone on the healing journey, but even as spiritual people, we've seen the videos that talk about higher consciousness and, you know, kind words and manifestation. We've been down those routes and we've learnt and we've talked about a lot of it. I've gotten to a point where I will happily admit that I am spiritual, but then there are days where I don't even believe it. There are days where I become so engulfed in negativity that, but people call that lower consciousness. They call it 3D. They call it so many different things. And I used to go through a self punishment because of the ideology of it, but because spirituality also kind of labels it the way that they do, which is why coming back, I validate every single stage of the healing journey. Now, I don't see the point in punishing self as much anymore. I can still have my moments, again, retract. I can still have my moments, but I get it. It's like when I got sick and I get so intolerable to it, and I've witnessed how people react when they get sick. It's annoying. I'm not going to
Yeah.
invalidate that. But for me personally, I wanted to take a step back and say, no one could ever talk about my body the way that I do. And people do try. They try, obviously, but no one can be as heinous and callous as I am to my own body. For what reason, essentially? All it's ever done is try to survive and tried and existed. And that reminds me of innocent human beings that are just existing in their space. And then some person wants to come in. That's what it reminds me of. That's how some of you sound when you just project into someone else's space. That's what it reminds me of, right? We are that to our bodies. We are the blah, 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 to our body while our
Yeah.
body is just trying to exist, you know. And again, I'm not invalidating the health conditions that many people face and the mental health conditions and stuff. But again, it brings me back to the validation of your body, and your mind is uncovering certain things for a reason. It's going through things for a reason. It's trying to adapt and cope. And I want to say this too, as a survivor and as someone that has been through trauma, my nervous system, and mind you, this is something I've recently really started to look into, right? For a large majority of my life, since probably I would say 7 years old, so all of my life, that's what it feels like. My nervous system has tried to survive through the consistent years of negative exposure and
Mm.
my body being put through certain circumstances. So if you think about this now for all of you that have been through just a consistent amount of exposures to trauma and negativity and unsafety and just the heinous existence that humanity likes to bring into our spaces, your nervous system is constantly exposed to that. This is one of the reasons why I validate this journey. Where do you think your nervous system would be at right now? I think a lot of us have I think a lot of us have a nervous system that is so, what's the word?
Dysregulated?
Yeah, is dysregulated. Yeah. I think a lot of us have a nervous system that is so dysregulated because it just makes sense that it is. To me, it just feels like that's the point blank, is that it makes sense that it is. It makes sense that, Nina, you go through what you go through. Like for me, it just makes sense why you do, because
Yeah.
your life hasn't showcased the amount of opportunities and possibilities that actually exist, you haven't had or been given the opportunity to experience otherwise.
Yeah.
People were not putting you in spaces of human. They weren't putting you in spaces of opportunity. They weren't putting you in spaces of validation of existence. You didn't experience any of that. So the way that you would unfold your life would not be within those kind of
Right.
spaces. For many of you as well, you wouldn't unfold your life in that way because you weren't treated in that way. You weren't seen in that way. It feels like an impossibility because you've never had the possibility of it. I get why I think things are impossible because I've never experienced the other side of it. It's always been impossible and it's been nothing else. I could never ever walk into a place and feel safe. Like I said before, it's an impossibility in my mind. And now that it's a possibility, I don't even know how to fully absorb that. I don't even know how to feel about it. You know, I know it's a celebration, it's an achievement, but to feel the full extent in my heart, I'm uncertain of it because that is the next step. That's trauma for you, is that you're uncertain when it is possible. You become so, oh my gosh, like this is happening. But then is it happening because like it's only going to happen for that one moment and the next time it's not going to happen? You immediately
Mhm.
head into the direction of it's not going
Fear.
to last because it's never been possible for something to last. It's never been possible for it to be beautiful, for it to be magnificent, for it just to be this positive experience of human, you know? I think for a lot of you, including ourselves here, everything just makes sense as to why things unfold the way they do. It's not validated if you go out on the town and you project a certain way to other people. I am not validating any kind of misbehavior towards other human beings just because of your trauma. I'm not validating that. It's a different story, but I wanted to preference that. But I am validating why so many of you don't like a lot of crowds, why you feel so unsafe. Even if you are literally, even if it's just you, if you're walking through a supermarket and it's just you, people feel unsafe. If it's a lot of people, people feel unsafe. It all makes sense to me. Every time I scroll on social media, every time I have conversations with people, every time I go out there and I witness people's behaviors, I sit back and I think, I totally understand why humans are where they are. We are,
Yeah.
we we're kind of just walking through life, just learning about the funks of life and even how to validate that. People are just being made aware of how dysregulated their nervous system is, and it's the reason why certain things have happened the way it's happened. We're just experiencing people being diagnosed with autism after going through a large extension of their life with no diagnosis. We're just hitting the surfaces on all of this. But the funks that, have been coming up this year, especially, I'm going to say, have awakened my eyes to the reality that one, they're nothing new. Sometimes they're differently shaped. Sometimes it's a different image. I find it hilarious, and I'm going to make a joke out of this. I find it hilarious how my thoughts used to bombard me when I was doing my studies, and my thoughts would be like, "You're never going to finish." Like, imagine like the second person next to you, "You're never going to finish. Ah, you can't do it. You're a failure. You didn't finish school." That's what it used to target. Now
Yeah.
that I finished my studies, it's found something new. And you know what,
Mm.
friends? You know what, friends? Truly, I'm not angry at it because I get it. I get why it's doing it. I totally understand. I totally get you, friend. Even though you're so negative and sometimes you make me feel like crap, like shit, I still get you. I get it. It's all I've ever known. That person, that persona, I'm going to call it, it's all I've ever known. It's always been me and her. for majority of our lives. So when anything new comes in, or when I start to like something, when I start to love something, when something transitional happens, she's there just going, oh, oh, no, failure, this. Remember when this happened 10 years ago? You have to remember that, make yourself feel bad, be depressed over it, get in the bed, stay in bed, stay in bed, stay in bed. You know, she just gets so triggered. And nowadays I sit here, and even through the recent experiences that Nina has been having and I've been having, we've been conversating over stuff because we have been in a very intense funk this year. It's been very intense. It has. I think this year has been mostly surrounding that because of our transitions. And again, because it's triggering the parts of us that are really scared. I think that's one thing that I've noticed the most through what's been happening this year is that I'm scared. I'm scared of the good stuff. I'm scared of things not happening. I'm scared of being where I am for the rest of my life. You know, I'm scared of even just going out there and being seen because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in that space. You know, I'm obviously, and again, this is where the retract comes in, right? Is that I've had a transitional moment today, right? But I'm afraid of everything.
Yeah.
I'm generally scared of everything. I'm scared to do this podcast some days. I'm scared to post. I'm scared to be me and to come in front of all of you and be me. Because being me to all of you is a very vulnerable thing. And it's for a lot of you as well. When you step forward to people and you be yourself, it's a very vulnerable it's a very vulnerable place to be when you have never been made to feel safe being you. When you don't even know who you is, right? And you've been living for other people, which has been one of my situations. And then you start to discover self, and then you're scared to be that person and to figure out who that person is. Oh, there's so many layers. But this year has been just a lot about fearing and a lot of questioning of self. And for so much relation with a lot of you, there's so much. I'm a 28-year-old, Nina's almost 28. Our life journey didn't go down the way of society's version. So we've had to actually adapt and find some sense of groundedness in being okay that our lives didn't turn out the way that society perpetuates, you know, the way that life should be, sort of thing. We've had to find our own sense of groundedness in that. But that's also led us to this current state of reality where we don't like where we're at because we know that that growth can no longer be expanded where we're at. We want to move. And that's another part of the healing journey. It's another part of this journey is getting to that point and having to find groundedness and contentment at that point until you make a shift. Like, oh my gosh. Again, this is why I validate as much as I possibly can. And I retract some days, 100%. But this is why I mainly try to validate every single part of this journey, as difficult as it is, especially as someone who still deals with, and I've said it so many times, that still deals with suicidality. I still find myself going in that direction, even as a spiritual person. Because I want to really break that down. If you're spiritual as well, I want to break that down. I'm spiritual, but I still head into many of those directions. I still get low. And then I've had to really release the ideology that I'm going to manifest all of that. You know, it just all makes sense why it's happening is my point. And if you really think about it, if you think about your life and how things have unfolded, it makes sense why it unfolds the way that it does for you, why you think the way that you do and process things the way that you do. I've probably gone on so many different roads right now. I try to stay on one topic, but then another topic feeds into another one, and then it feeds into another one, and then I'm
Because
just
it's all
kind of like,
connected. It's
it's
all
all
connected.
connected, yes.
Yeah.
It's 100% all connected. I could totally see you agreeing with the things I was saying about this year, though,
Oh my
and how you're
gosh.
feeling about it.
Yeah, because there is, you're fearful when it's just, there's so much to say. First of all, I have to get this off my chest first. the whole being seen as yourself is, it's petrifying because
Absolutely.
it can be, or at least it can be, there's an illusion that you have safety in being somebody that you're not versus who you really are. Because then you have a barrier, you have like a mask in front of you
Yeah.
protecting you from what people say, do whatever, you know. But when you are you and you're vulnerable and you're that honest with yourself, and you know, you don't give your heart out to anybody, but you are who you are and you show up as yourself fully, it makes you a
Mm.
lot more vulnerable. And for somebody who has been in situations where that has backfired, either through bullying, that has been my personal experience, it just, it makes you go inward. And when you are an
Yep.
inward person to start coming out here, first of all, revolutionary work. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you to anybody out there who's doing that, who's trying to heal to the point where they are happy, maybe not happily at times, but just courageous enough to want to do that, to put themselves in a position of like, I do not benefit pretending to be somebody that I'm not, pretending to like stuff that I don't, all of that. It is petrifying. And I'm learning that as well on a much deeper level of like, you can outgrow things, places, people. And I was, it's funny because in the past I thought I had gotten this. You know, I was like a teenager, 17, 18. I'm like, yeah, I'm totally cool. I know this lesson. I got it. It's saved away. I never have to go back and repeat this. Ha ha ha. 10 years later, here we are. Hello. No, but you can. And there's a lot of fear that comes with that as well, because it's like, oh my God, am I going to lose people? Are they going to understand? Are they going to vibe? Are they going to feel threatened? Is something going to come of this? There's a lot that goes with that. We can put that in a different like episode later on in life. But fear is, it's amazing in the worst way possible. I mean, also possibly a good way, because people say if you fear something, that's when you really care, and that you should go towards that feeling, because oftentimes from my personal experience, fear is actually excitement sometimes that my body can distinguish. So my brain judges the feelings and it's like, you're afraid. And I've been in situations before where I was actually excited and the feeling felt the same. And that was in and of itself a whole thing. But I say all of this to say, with where I'm personally at, if your life has been completely full of turmoil, unsafety, like Ashley said, unease, or filled with unsafe people, circumstances, environments, etc., of course your brain is going to want to control, because that is the only way it sees anything working out. Because when you've put your trust in other people's hands, it hasn't worked out. So your brain is like, okay, I got to do this all by myself. In fact, when I was in school, my mom used to tell me this when it comes to like school projects, which I think is funny. Is like, if you want to do it right, do it yourself. Don't wait on or trust anybody else to do it. And that has been somehow deeply subconsciously ingrained. And it took it from that small little moment of school life and transformed it to the entirety of my life, where it's like, well, I got to fix this and I got to do this and I got to figure this out and I got to have a plan. And being in a country like Germany, who is, I know we have viewers from all over the world, and I will truly say this because I mean it. Germany can be a beautiful country to travel, but living here, if you're not a person that can fit with structure, paperwork, you got to do this right. Don't do it wrong. If you don't fit into that, the narrative, don't do it. Don't do it. I feel like a lot more countries, even within Europe, are a lot more free mentally than it is here. But that is, again, another episode. But I will say, this country is very much, it's bureaucratic. You got to have paperwork to breathe, essentially. And if you breathe in the wrong direction, you're wrong. You know, there's not a lot of expansion for people who are creative. There's not a lot of expansion who want to do things outside of the box. Let's put it that way. And my whole entire existence has been outside of the box. And so I've learned that while I've learned the importance of structure being here, there can also be too much of that where that becomes your prison. And trying to undo control in a country that thrives upon it is a whole nother game in and of itself, I feel. But I while listening to you, Ash, I sat there and I'm like, it's like the distinction between body, mind, and soul, where it's like your brain tries to control everything. The brain is like the government, but the body, the feelings, your emotional body are like the people who are like, there's something wrong. We need to divert. We need to come together. You know, we need to invest in new things. And then your brain is like, no, we got to stick with what we know, with what we have, because this has been working until you die, you know, and it doesn't
Mhm.
allow for you to open up unless you train yourself to be in uncomfortable situations. But again,
Yeah.
fear is a dual thing, because you can be in a great place and be petrified. You can be in a miserable place and be petrified. And most people, and I've said this to my mom, I've said this to many people I've had conversations with before, people usually choose the danger that they know rather than the danger that they don't know. Danger is an over exaggeration, but essentially, people tend to choose
Mm.
things that they know that makes them miserable more so than the thing that could potentially make them happy because it's scary. Um,
Yeah.
and being in a space now where I'm like, it's time to go. It's time to not be in control anymore because it's not working out. It's like me coming back into the body, from the head into the body, and being like, okay, I'm not in control. I don't know anything truly about life. Life in and of itself is a mystery. I don't know why certain things don't work out. I don't know why certain things do. I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. But giving up that control for me has been somewhat revolutionary in and of itself. It happens in small chunks where I don't care anymore, or I don't get as like geared up towards things as I used to anymore. Um, and then, like Ashley said, sometimes you retract and you're like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen? But if we do this, or then this is going to happen, and oh, then this is going to have to change." And then now I have this beautiful, because of Ashley and her presence, and the beauty of knowing Ashley and our friendship. It has opened me up to this middle point now where it's like, be nice to yourself. How are you? Is that your thought, or is that a thought that was placed there from something else? That is the most
Mm.
amazing lesson you have taught me thus far, among many. But it is just one of the like totem poles in my life, honestly. So thank you, Ash. And again, to anybody listening, friends can make a big difference. A human being, just one, can make a massive difference in your journey. And
Mm.
just life and healing. The
Mm.
miraculous journey. Yay. But yeah, definitely 2024 has been the year of unrooting fear and
Mm.
going into things, at least for me, going into things not as prepared, not having everything figured out, and still having trust that things will work out some way.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. And to just again on the validation wheel,
mhm.
I kind of I did think about it the other day where I thought to myself, of course, it's going to be such a difficult transaction only because like I think like the entire conversation has been about it's never happened before. This has never
Yeah,
happened before. We've never been in this space we've never been in these spaces before.
true.
We've never done this before. So being the people that we are now is terrifying because
Yeah,
it's such a validation to our inner child and our teenage self because they weren't these versions. But it's also
yeah,
terrifying because it's kind of like you're stepping into the spotlight. You're stepping by yourself for the first time into the spotlight and you're
yeah,
taking the step into making these decisions for yourself that you were never able to make for yourself in some ways, especially if you're a people pleaser. Everything is everyone else's decision.
yeah,
Everything is everyone else. So when you make the choices for the first time by yourself, when you take even the first step, you may retract and that's okay, but you take the first step, when you decide to start wearing what you want to wear in a society that needs to take responsibility and accountability for its suppression or individualism, when you just when you do anything that is not within what you have ever done, and it's
Yeah.
completely outside of what you would consider a possibility, I just honestly would love you guys to think of why you deserve to be so hard on yourself about that, or why, no, let me say it like this, why you think it's a validation for you to be so hard on yourself when it comes to doing something that felt completely impossible, when it comes to doing it through the fear, when it comes to, oh, I can't even get my words. You know what I mean? I just would never, ever, ever, ever validate anyone's belief system that they have to be hard on themselves for any of this.
Mm.
You know, I can validate why it's there, but for any of you that are so hard on yourselves, I get it, but also you just don't deserve it. You don't
Yeah.
deserve to be so hard on yourselves with what many of you have been through. And I say that with a lot of empathy. I really do empathize with what a lot of you have been through. Being so hard on yourself has felt like such a normality. And I get it. It feels so normal to do so, especially when you've been taught by other people, because society has to have a lot of accountability still, especially when you've been taught by other people to see something that you do as a wrong, as an issue, as a problem,
Mm.
especially existing the way that you want to exist, doing the career that you want to do. People tell you it's wrong and then you feel wrong doing it. In any sort of shape and form where you've been taught that the disapproval of others means that it's a failure on you, I really hope that this all gets dismantled one day and then we can just, I want nothing more than people just exist in their spaces, because even the reality that you and I have gone through a lot of funks this year and a lot of movement, a lot of transformations, and we've been very depressed as well in our own spaces, right? Dealing with other people, we're dealing with society's little narratives that it likes to
Mhm.
project out there. It makes things worse.
Yeah.
It makes things worse. What do we need it for, essentially? That's sort of another thing that's a part of this journey, is how human beings are making the healing journey harder for each other. Because Nina said it too, and I said it too. She has fear of showing herself as her, being herself and showing that to everyone, because she hasn't been made to feel safe to do so. She hasn't been given the space or the opportunity to exist as Nina, or even find out who Nina actually is, because no one's given her the space to do so, because society is so good at like grabbing you and then just shoving you in its little box and saying, "Hey, guess what? This is you, Nina. Nothing else. This is just you. You just stay in that box." And then that just keeps pushing you down and
Yeah.
down, and squishing you. That's what it feels like. Oh, that's what it just felt like. People
Yeah.
just squeezing you just to keep you in their little box. And then they say to you, "Why are you so depressed? Why are you so afraid to show yourself? Why are you so self conscious? Why are you so insecure?" Because I put my hand up to be. I said, "Yes, I will take these insecurities. I want to be this person. I want to spend my entire existence healing from this stuff." Yeah. Yeah.
The thing
Yeah.
too, I would like to add to what you're saying is that you think if somebody suppresses you, that that's one choice you make to agree with one person, right? Let's say they
Mhm.
don't like a jacket you're wearing. Let's give an example. And you stop wearing that jacket and you're like, oh, it's just a jacket. I mean, I liked it, but it's not a big deal if it causes that big of an uproar, whatever. I can move on. I have other things. That will continue. It will
Yeah.
not stop. You think that one yes or one no, in that sense, you giving in that one time will stop. It will continue. They will continue pressing your identity down. And that's the thing too. Like when I was younger, I didn't have that internalized. I was like, oh yeah, I love that. I'm gonna wear that. Totally. That's so my style. And then people slowly but surely compressed me. And now I'm
Mhm.
breaking out of multiple year-long century, not centuries, but like definitely years of suppression. And to do that is not easy. To start saying yes to yourself and no to other people, even though it may hurt some feelings, it may ruffle some feathers, you might have to place a boundary. I know that that's hard, and it is, but it is so necessary because nobody's opinion should have like the position of ruling in your life. It's an opinion. It doesn't have to be your reality. It's a choice that you make. And the more you choose yes for yourself, not in like a, oh my God, I'm the most important person in the world now. Nothing else matters because I'm perfect. Not in the selfish, narcissistic way, but in the healing, self accountable, open, and aware way. Where the more you say yes to yourself and figure out what works and what doesn't, the more you're starting to understand who you actually are and go into the lane of self confidence and well-being and all that stuff. But it's a process, and it's not easy, but it is. Just to add to what Ashley's saying, it won't stop. The more you give in, the worse it becomes for you, not anybody else, for you. So
That's
yeah.
why there's two journeys to this. There's two
Yeah.
journeys of you going through the direction of what you want to choose to do and how you want to choose to exist. What do you want to do for yourself? How do you want to do it? Meaning, like, you don't like what you're wearing because it's based upon society's version, right? So, do you change that? All right. So, you decided to change that. So, when you step outside, how does it feel when you do step outside? How do
Mm,
you feel existing in that space? So, it is a self journey to go through that, right? 100%. I know. The other side of it is each individual taking accountability for what you do when someone steps into that light and how you treat that light.
mm,
I am 100% vouching and I'm very firm on society's taking accountability for the stuff that
mm,
it does. Because I guarantee, being a mental health advocate for as long as I have been, people are so quick, and I've said this so many times, people are quick to talk about the advocacy of, well, how they want life to be better, but do not see how they suppress the light of others. And I see it too much. I see it every time I go to the supermarket. You have people that do little sneers to someone else.
mm.
Yes, that behavior is, it feels great, right? It feels good when you have your little ego moment. Because I was a teen once, I used to do it 100%. That's how I learned. I used to have my moments because everyone else had their moments. We all did like a ripple effect and
Yeah.
would portray that kind of behavior. And then you realize that the only reason that you're doing it is because it's just like, do conversations expand anything further than making fun of other people's light because your light feels so affected, because your light has had issues, because you've been through things? I feel like for a lot of people, it's just easier to look at other people's spaces than it is to look at theirs. And I truly believe that.
Mm,
It's just easier. And a lot of people take this path that they think is easy, but it's really the most difficult path you can take because one way or another, if you're known as someone that sits there and belittles others, it kind of reflects your environment after that, the people that you're around. You think you're going to attract kindness from that kind of behavior? No. You think you're going to attract people that are going to be open to your space, respect your space, love your space? Unconditional, but also with healthy, I think is the word. You think there's going to be a healthy relationships and connections, the experience of that? No, because the behavior of dimming other people's light is unhealthy.
Mhm.
And revolving your existence around that is unhealthy. And all of this connects to sort of the funks,
Yeah.
because a lot of people like us, we go through it where we're trying to navigate through the world, but you have to show up in the world. This is the problem. When you get a job, when you go to school, you have to show up as you. But the difficulties of that is that we're not allowing people to show up, even as teenagers, even as children. We're not
Yeah.
allowing children to show up
Right.
as who they are. We think if a boy plays with Barbies, then, oh my gosh, it's the worst thing in the world. You know, it's so warped in control and a need to put people in boxes because I'm uncomfortable, because I've been taught that boys don't play with Barbies and they don't wear pink. So it triggers me and I have to grab that boy and suppress him into my ideology of life. And I don't care what it does to him as long as I'm comfortable, as long as I'm happy, as long as I feel good about myself after that. Because that's the thing. As long as you are laughing at the expense of someone else and you're happy about it, as long as you're okay and you're comfortable suppressing someone else, it doesn't matter about anyone else. It
Mm.
doesn't matter. But then again, it cycles back through. You wonder why that child grows up and maybe experiences limiting beliefs, is quite insecure, doesn't know who they are, identity crisis. You wouldn't think these behaviors reflect, but they do. And even both of us, again, coming back to us, we're the examples of trying to find who we are and how we want to exist in this world. And now that we're slowly doing that, and we have, and I'll speak for myself, now that I have more than I ever have, it's also coping with when you step out there. When we both show up here in front of these cameras and all of you watch us, the energy that you direct to us, which is your responsibility, is the same as us when we see other people and the energy that we direct towards them. It is all about accountability in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You have a lot of power that you probably don't know to people's funks, to people's energies, to people's thoughts. You have a lot of power into that. I think a lot of you know that. I think a lot of you know. You have power to your own as well. But when it comes to people around you, you have the power to be the greatest example that it's safe, that it's okay. We know that people are going through, we all know this. Come on, we know by now how many people are really going through it, like really going through it. And you'll have no idea to the extent.
Yeah.
We're giving you a very small portion of what this year has been like for us, right? Obviously. But you'll never know the extent. But essentially, you know that this is happening for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if you're aware of this and you know, as well as you know yourselves what it's been like, keep it in mind. Just keep it in mind of that reality.
Yeah.
The people are transitioning and they're moving. I swear, there are so many people around you when you go to the shops that are literally doing exposure therapy. Sometimes they don't even know it, right? That is all the more reason as well to assess how you treat people, because you have no idea the kind of situations they're in and the fun. I say it all the time. You have no idea if they're transitioning through something. They're doing exposure therapy to see how they feel about the environment, you know? So much work people do to heal. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And it's a lot of time. Just to say too, we had to actually find peace for that time that we've had to spend healing. And that is
Oh,
very
yeah.
difficult.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
very difficult to sit there. I know you know, my friend,
Yeah.
you know, to actually get to a point of, I have just spent, like, the grief of, I have just spent a lot of my years having to heal. All of our 20s, basically, for her and I. all of our 20s have been spent continuous healing. And then when new things come up, healing that on top of everything else from 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You know? It's so fucking much. So fucking much. And it's enough for me to say that I just validate every single pathway that comes into this journey because it makes sense. But also, I hold space for it, just as I hold space for many people that show up the way that they do. I hope that makes sense in what I'm saying. I hope I landed the plane at least at some airport.
You landed it. You landed it. It's fine. Yeah, absolutely. And just, it goes back to what you're saying, how people beat up themselves when things don't work out. I will end my example with this because this has been a recent thing. When I feel incredibly unhappy with where I'm at, I start doing stuff. And I've learned that too is a form of control, to give myself the
Same.
illusion mentally to that I'm doing stuff, that I'm moving forward, that I'm, occupying myself with stuff. But I have learned from my mind and my body now that the more I keep doing stuff mentally, the more I set stuff up to do from brain, the more my body slows down and gets less energy. And I don't mean
Yeah.
like, of course, when you do stuff, you get tired. No, like the more you keep going, the worse it is. Every single day you wake up and you still want to go back to sleep. And it's like, okay,
Yep.
fine. Fine, body, have it your way. Be in control.
Yep.
I will just float here on the surfboard. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
That is a process, becoming okay with the time it takes when you are especially
Yeah.
surrounded by people who are like, oh, I'm going to Ibiza and next month I'll be in Spain and I'm going to marry and then I'll have children 5 months from now. It's just like, it's great, Martha. You do you, but I don't know where I come up with these weird names. No, but great. But also sitting here and healing when you watch other people continue, it seems like, anyway, from the outside looking in or looking towards other people, which that shouldn't be your centralized where you get your where am I going in life thing from. But it feels like so many people do a lot of stuff throughout the year. And when you're healing, that becomes like the main central. You can do stuff, but it's also always connected to the healing. It's not really outside of that. I've noticed, at least for myself. And so it can be stressful, but
a lot of grief.
yes, grief.
A lot
But
of
it's
grief in
okay.
watching other people.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I will be so much better in my 30s, though. You just watch. I'm giving you guys a head start because when I'm in my 30s, it's on. Like, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay.
Oh yes. I love the analogy because I'm telling you, the amount of signs, the amount of human beings that have just popped up lately that are in their 30s and they talk about how their life is just on a complete, like, different wavelength from their 20s, and they didn't think that it would happen like that, but they're glad.
Yeah.
It's just such a timeless experience. You just never know. Our 20s probably had to be dedicated to healing
Yeah.
because of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have 100% taken it into the course of our life. We would have 100%. We would have.
Right. Yeah.
The rest of our life would have been the trauma. No, the rest of our lives would have been the traumatic selves, our traumatic
Yeah.
selves, and that's just it. It would have been a continuation of that.
Yeah.
Never ending. It would have just kept building. It would have kept.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have. It would have kept on building upon
Yeah.
those foundations of trauma. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, Dina. The versions that would have been created from it too. 100%. It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
What song shall we play now? What song is like coming into your head?
Oh my
'Cause
gosh, I've had so many.
we gotta do an
Oh my
outro
God.
dance.
My face above the water. My feet can't touch the ground. I feel you know that song?
I think so.
I keep singing. It's your turn to sing because it's always me singing. Yeah,
How
it's your
dare
turn.
you?
How dare you?
How could you expose
You
me?
take the mic. You take the mic and you sing away. You know you've got a good voice.
Listen up. Here's the story about a little guy that lives in a blue world. And all day and all night, and everything he sees is just blue, like Ashley, inside and outside. Blue his house with a blue little window and a blue Corvette. And everything is blue for him and himself and everybody around, 'cause he ain't got nobody to listen to. I'm blue, dabba dee dabba die, dabba dee dabba.
I'm pretty sure we've had that song before, but it's such
Oh,
a
okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, new song.
no, it's a good song. I don't blame you.
New song. Because I felt like I'd been here before. And this is not the song I thought I would break out into my music career into, but you know, here we are. The song of my nightmares. Literally, that was a song in my nightmares before. Um,
The song
I
we
feel
were
like
singing before at the start, jealousy. But I can't fully remember the other words. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know the song, but I don't know the lyrics.
Bring up your alibi. The price I pay. Destiny is calling me.
Open up my eager eyes.
Cause I missed your bright side.
Side.
Oh my gosh. You'll know.
I love that song.
People will know. Good Charlotte. Did you ever hear of that band, Good Charlotte and Fall Out Boy?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And Kings of Leon. Did you remember
Yes.
them? Do you remember them? Oh,
Yeah.
I used to play all of their songs on repeat, especially like This Sex is on Fire. Oh my gosh. I loved their music, still do. Oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh, absolute love.
It's funny because
I songs playing in my head now.
I only have ballads and they're all sad. So I don't want to end this with a sad song. I apologize. I'll listen to more happy music. Smile.
That's a declaration for 2024.
Is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. Although
You have a beautiful voice.
in the sky you'll get by if you smile through your tears and sorrow. Smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun shining through for you. That's it, you guys.
You actually got me so teary just listening to your voice. It's so beautiful.
I hope it comes out well on the mic because sometimes my voice really annoys me.
No, you
Just
have
like I sound very
voice.
like croaky when I speak, and that's not my natural. I hope not. I hope that's not my natural speaking. Thank you. We start the podcast in tears of laughter and we end it in tears of sadness. That's how it goes sometimes.
That's not sadness. That was beautiful. That was absolutely beautiful. That was beautiful. The energy behind it as well. You definitely. Someone actually made a comment about your voice, and they are very true.
Thank you. Yes, I remember that person. If you're watching, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining, friends, for this episode. And whatever unfolds, may your days be as they desire. And until next time, toodaloo.
Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
Rock on.